Okay, let's talk about using AI at work, implementing it. Only something near 10% of people are consistently using generative AI in the workplace. On the other hand, about 51% of people use one of the major LLMs daily, ChatGPT, Google. So why are the numbers so low in business? And I want to give a little bit of a lay of the land, different approaches companies have been using. And I think the options are very expensive and costly, another way of putting it, and somewhere near 80 to 95% of AI implementations, efforts to build this into the workflow have failed, have not been used, and not clear how many of them are still renting that expensive server space to host the model, but that is not cheap, getting those monthly bills just to host that stuff. So I'm going to walk through the very general state of the way things are in 2025. And I do have something I am selling, which I hope you don't think compromises or biases me against the truth. I truly think this kind of approach, what I'm offering here, is your best way to go right now. And we'll talk about people in that 95% who have implemented and failed. In probably most of those cases have hired a development shop, AI agency to implement something, which unfortunately doesn't really get into the workflow the same way that I think something like this can really get embedded into a workflow and is also very flexible. Where should I begin? Very briefly, the two general approaches people are going with when they do get a AI consulting agency coming to them, working with them. One option is to fine-tune a model. You'll have a model that was trained that is open sourced. The two main open source would maybe be DeepSeek or the Meta, Facebook, Llama models. Mistral out of France has a model or two, but taking one of those models, then fine-tuning that to your company's emails, your company's text messages, internal documents, domain expertise. That's a pretty risky and very costly endeavor. And even if it goes really well, even if you're in that 5% of companies where something like that turns out to be useful, where in order to use it, the employees are going away from their work and going to this chatbot, hopefully giving the chatbot enough information for it to give a helpful response, give it a lot of context. Context, that's going to be a theme here with this. We're going to talk about that later in the What's Important Now program. Win system. So that's one option. That is very costly. I'd advise against that. Depends on your case. But even if you did that, I'd still, think that there's still a lot of workflows and layers to put the intelligence, to build the intelligence into. And it's going to have to do with, we're getting closer to this product, but fine-tuning a model, we'll get into the details more of why that's a bad idea. The next detail, I am not going to fully get into, it's its own subject, is agents. You may have heard of AI agents, chain of thought reasoning models built into specific workflows. They look, they listen, they extract data, they call tools. Maybe there's a human in the loop approving it. And how can I somewhat difficult to describe generally, but that is your most effective, but that is also going to be very costly. Hiring, you're going to probably be doing RAG, retrieval augmentation generation, which you could also do with this tool, but wouldn't be as flexible if you're hiring an AI agency to do this, setting up these agents. What if your workflow changes? What are they charging you? How do you know what they're charging you is the market rate? Really, the market rate is people bidding up their time as high as it can go because they're really in demand, especially if they are effective. And AI agents, of course, are effective, but is it worth it to hire these people at whatever, something like corporate lawyer hourly rate in order to have them building these systems in? And then are they handling your model keys, the passwords so-called to your model, or are these being handled by you? If they're handling them, which we're actually going to cover it later. I hope that this is as educational as possible for the people starting out. I know wherever you were in your career 3 years ago, you didn't think you would need to be someone with an understanding of AI. But in order to call the models, you're going to need API keys. And if the AI agency is handling your API keys and they're billing it, are they charging you service fees to bill it? Are they putting some multiple on the amount that is being charged? Are they calling a model that is too expensive, that's kind of overkill for your needs? I think the model I've selected here for this tool, which goes for a flat fee, is very fast, very cheap. And then as you can see here, it's all starred out there. So you, the owner of the business and the administrator, will be able to handle this key. And really not as complex as it sounds. API key, even though you're not a developer, API keys, if you're dealing with AI, are going to be your job to understand. It's really just the think of it as your password to your ChatGPT account. If someone has your password, they can call it as much as possible. And the issue with calling API keys of an AI model depends on your billing. Are you paying like $20 a month and then it runs out? Or is it more the situation like we used to get, if you remember, in the era of texting, when text messages were new and you would get charged with overages, or anytime minutes, unlimited plan overages? That's business model is back, and the big AI companies will hit you with overages. In other words, all this is to say that your API key, are you trusting that with an AI agency and trusting that they're billing you for what you have used? They probably are, but are they putting a little bit of a fee into that? And then what if they get compromised and someone is billing a lot of things to your API key? Who's responsible for that? Does it turn into a blame game? Seems like a real mess. So when you enter this for your employee in this situation, I'm really jumping ahead, getting into the weeds, but when you do enter that in Windows, that ends up going into this file here, and you can put a password protection on this pass. You are the administrator, and that's something you control, and you'll sit down at your whoever it is, your customer service, your salesperson, intern, whoever. You will enter this. They will not have access to get in here. So just some of the cost and risk of dealing with AI agencies and agents. which are your main two options. If you're big or small, you're small, you don't want to get left behind. You're big, the board, whoever is telling you, you need to get on top of this AI thing. What is your AI strategy? You don't know. Nobody knows. You contact an AI agency, and then they're giving you one of these two options. Fine-tune a model, which is really costly, and I don't advise. Not only because people don't typically use chatbots, stop what they're doing and talk to a chatbot, and the amount of sentences that you have to write to the AI chatbot in order for it to really understand what you're saying. You know this from experience. If you use ChatGPT, it might take 5 or 10 back and forths. You really need to fill up the AI with a lot of context, and it might not be till the 10th or a very long thread by the time you're really getting to that key information. And that's really not something employees really want to spend that much time on. That's why when there is a working fine-tuned model, it's not great, not ideal. That is the way to harness intelligence out of AI for your business. And a few other reasons for that, why you wouldn't want that, is the expertise to train these models. Very, very difficult to fine-tune a model. And these are very large models, models that are trained, even if it's something like this, which you have access to here, which can get you answers instantly for a very low fee. To train this model, they're all in a race to spend as much money as they can to get the best models. That is your advantage. You don't want, that is not your, good idea. That's not a plan to get into that same business of training models. They train these models on tens of millions of dollars worth of compute, now billions of dollars worth of compute. They're spending millions of dollars on energy, electricity to train these models. And they have experts. They have very good people, and you may have even seen some of the salaries going around to pay these people. And that's probably not the person in your local AI agency. Even if you are in, Silicon Valley, and you want your company, you want an agency, you're not getting that great talent that built these things, that are working on coming up with things like this. This is actually kind of old, but who would work on this stuff? Who's only PhDs and people at the businesses training these models, the few dozen people working on these, So that's just one problem, that you're not going to get the quality when you do start training these models on your own data. What happens is a lot of the good stuff in the model will get erased. There are other ways around that too. Low rank adaptation to train a model. Still don't know that that's something that you should risk. The time and energy, and then the cost to host it. And then no matter how good your fine-tuned model is, it's going to be old, because they are building better and better models. The next one's coming online. This is something that the Meta guy, Facebook, tweeted out, that he's going to have a data center that almost is the footprint of Manhattan. So I really, I'm no expert myself, but I know enough that your business, unless you're big enough that you can actually contact OpenAI themselves, and this is something they do, these major labs, why are you watching a freelance guy do their video? I think even you, big company, might benefit from this, which we'll get into, why the features of it are unique, but you don't want to be in this game, playing this game. These people are at a race to the bottom to lose billions of dollars every month, every year, building these things. So don't be in that game of building clusters and training. Even if it is good, it's going to get old. And your other option of agents, your workflow could change. Same deal about the models getting better. Do you know how to switch out a model after your AI agency has built in a agent with RAG, retrieval, augmentation generation, after they've built something like this with RAG, which is a way of creating embeddings of your data? Which is better? We're already better than training a model on emails, but if they create embeddings of your emails and text unique to your company, building something like this, the issue with that, the RAG, is that that stuff is specific to a model, which probably isn't too much. I don't know. Is your AI agency going to charge you an arm and a leg to update to the next model? Maybe, maybe not. Their time is definitely in short supply. But in order to update the model for this tool, which is a flat fee of $29, which is very flexible for a lot of use cases, Salesforce integration, which we'll talk about. In order to check for an update, you're just going to check for an update here, and you're going to see a new model. And really, what I would like to hear, if the model that I have there now, if you want more models, we'll talk about the website serving this software, which is integrated with Stripe, credit card. I know I'm talking about it a lot. I haven't exactly told you what it is, but it gets a lot of context for you and your business. Very flexible, but contact me on here with any feedback. This is the website here. But let's get into it. Having said that, I hope that is a little bit of a lay of the land about AI and how businesses are using it and why 80 to 90% of it has failed. And why, if you waited, if you feel like it's been years and you're afraid your competition is using it, probably not. You did good, waiting it out, because it really has not proven itself. The plan, I think, the way to implement this and roll it out is to have what's called ambient AI as an AI assistant there, listening and watching. When you click it, it's not like it's there with its own mind spying on you, but if you're at your computer at work, if you find yourself talking on the phone, talking on Zoom, maybe even working from home, working from a laptop where people don't mind if you're out in public, I don't know, wherever you are, this will transcribe audio on a laptop. It has a very precise AI model locally, free model that you download that's about 150 megabytes that you can run that will transcribe your audio, transcribe the customer's audio, or transcribe a Zoom call. If you don't have your phone system connected up through your computer, then your Android phone or your iPhone, if you're on Windows 11, that has the ability to basically get your computer to be your Bluetooth, just like your, what do you call it, headphone, having one headphone in, being able to have phone calls on that. That can be the same thing with your computer. Turns your computer into Bluetooth. Microphone and speaker, so then you're able to hit record. And do you see where this is going? Do you see what I'm getting at? We talked about context earlier. People spending time and money, the cost, the risk to give all of their data to an AI agency, third party, who is then going to give it over to train on a model or to give to different APIs. And if this is a big AI company, then they're going to be training on that data. I'm a very small AI company. I'm a one-man production, freelance software creator, hoping to deliver value, genuinely, really do want to deliver something of value for a flat fee, undercut people out there who, when you go to their, website and then it says, one fee, $29 for individuals, for businesses, contact us, for enterprise, contact us. Then you get a sales guy on the phone figuring out how much money you have. No, this is a flat fee. And per seat, it does work per seat. So, in other words, everyone running an instance of the software will need to have their own subscription. And did I mention 7-day free trial? No strings attached. For the 7 days, as many people for as many devices and as many email addresses that you want to connect in your organization, or as an individual, in school, in training, getting certification, getting better at a hobby, then no need to enter a credit card for those 7 days, for the 7-day free trial, and see how this works for you. But when it is time, after it has been listening to your conversation, and you click Ask the AI, then you will get this prompt appearing. So looking at it now, let's open the audio here. As you can see, I am talking, so you see your levels there. And this will be the folder here with the AI transcription updating every few seconds. Actually, let's open this. So, looks pretty good. I don't see words dropping out. It is somewhat awkward. And then when you do have not only the mic, which is you, but also the system audio, that's going to show up as system. And let's find something to come in over the system and see how that is updating. But
what steps was taken to troubleshoot and resolve the issue, and then also that the user or the customer acknowledges that it's working. Because what happens often here, guys, is the customer will go and break the machine again. So whatever this issue was, very, very often I've seen a customer will go and do that exact same nonsense again. They'll break the machine in the exact same way again, and they'll say, no, you didn't fix it properly the first time, and they're going to try and want a freebie out of you or something. They love blaming the technician being you.
okay, so I hope you got some of that, whatever that was about. Have this video here of some kind of certification or training and multiple choice. But if you remember what he was saying, there's me under Mike, and there is the person talking over the computer, who in your case, I don't know if you're in sales or you're in customer service, then the system there is going to be the customer, and you will be the mic. And what I'm getting at here, the other feature about this, of course, every, let's stop recording actually. Every LLM not only has its input, which is the conversation, but also prompting. Prompting goes on in here under settings. Settings gear. So this is where the transcript goes. Here is screenshot and transcript. Look at this. Tell it who you are. Tell it what you do. Tell it who the system is. Who are you talking to? Who's the other person in the conversation? And this is where you want to give it that context we were talking about. So fine-tuning a model is giving it context. And then when you have AI agents doing chain of thought reasoning on the RAG, retrieval augmentation, agents which are moving closer and closer to completing a task, which we don't have that kind of chain of thought agent going on here, but it's the same theme in any case, just like the theme I talked about earlier when you're doing some 30-minute, hour-long conversation on a topic with the ChatGPT chatbot, dialogue back and forth, typing and typing. No, you don't understand paragraphs, but what about this or that? Those three things I discussed, the RAG, the fine-tuning the model, and that long conversation, which finally gets you to that key information. Very important that the model gets a lot of context. So really should be the approach in what I'm offering here for $29 a month across the board for everyone. And can't promise that'll stay the same, but I do promise that the cost will be up front. It's going to be low maintenance. You're not going to be talking to salespeople. And hopefully this is working right out of the gate, and do a bit of experimenting and then filling this in depending on your case. Like, who are you as the owner of the business? Maybe you are a domain expert in printer repair parts, printer equipment repair. So you have that inside knowledge, capability, but you don't quite have the sales or the customer service understanding that you might need. So what do? Maybe you take some text from a sales book and you learn about that technique, and you tell them, okay, I have this printer business. I am a domain expert in all parts, in all things printing and ink, but I want to be more hands-on with sales. I want to learn more with sales. So in the moment, I want to be applying this technique. Or maybe as companies have their own cultures and the owners have things that they would prefer the employee do in dealing with the customer, or things that would drive the owner crazy that they would hope the employee would never do. All of these do's and don'ts and ideal things would go in here, and then a lot of experimentation. As you know from prompting, it's seriously somehow taken as a real job. Maybe it really is prompt engineer. So in some cases, you might want the prompt to be a little more vague. In other cases, you want the prompt to be very strict. But experimenting, putting something like constraints, you could get this to output some number, rate the employee's customer service on the basis of these criteria as a judge, and just output a number for that. And you can have this thing looking at all of your big or small staff of customer service agents, giving them a rating. You know, how many things can you not do with this once you have this running? You might say, oh, that sounds a little tricky. How would I hang over their shoulder and then click start recording, stop recording, and then copy and paste that? Well, I actually have something for the occasion. If you go into the site, you go into the API docs, as long as the sales associate, your employee, as long as they have this program open, when they have their phone call program open, which can send and receive calls, all of those programs that send and receive calls have something called an API, which we talked about earlier. Hopefully you know what that is. Basically just something to call and give something else data or pull data. We have that here. We have all of these buttons on here are all also things that you can call. So remember when we had that transcript earlier, let's have this transcript, and let's say we want to, I selected clear, but let's do ask instead, and let's ask without the screenshot toggled because we don't have anything on the screen. And now I'm just going to take these routes. You can actually call them from your browser, and let's ask the AI. Okay, we don't need that post, but that was an accident. Anyway, you can clear the transcript, and then you're also able to record a transcript, and then ask it a question about which presidents are on Mount Rushmore and who was on the $1,000 bill, and was there a $10,000 bill. So let's do an ask, see if we can get that called. And that was fast, right? It was pretty much there right when I clicked it. And this is not the transcript. This is not the thing that I'm speaking into that's taking it down. That was me calling the model and getting that instant response. And there you go. Did it name the people on Mount Rushmore? Got those. So this is a case of being mid-conversation and getting this return from the model. So I don't know. Do you think that might be useful? I think in the other cases of technology being rolled out, of in the 80s adding, they call it personal computers, but desktop computers to the office, getting all of that stuff computerized, you know, that seems hard. And then getting everything on the onto the internet, that seems hard. To me, even though this is AI and you hear the struggle of people implementing this, to me, I feel optimistic about this, that anyone can implement this. Even if you're just find yourself over Zoom, there's general trivia and things. And this was a very general trivia type of question I asked it, but this knows, it really does know some very specific, very technical facts. And also what I was showing there, as I was talking about, let me try to stay on one topic at a time, but your employees' calling software, you're able to connect it with these routes. These are actually routes. They're not made only to be called in the browser, because you can also make these calls from the app. Of course, it's meant to stand alone, and only you and the person you're talking to, or a screenshot is usually going to be enough. But so what's the point of that? point of having these routes, as I was saying, if you want to review, have something automatically reviewing and rating, giving a rating to every single call that your customer service and sales associates are doing, then you can have something that when a phone call is initiated, something will be triggered. You're going to need to contact a developer, or hopefully the intern at your company knows how to code, but when that call is picked up, something triggers start. It starts recording. When that call is ended, stop is triggered, ask is triggered, and then the output of the ask can only be a number if you want, or you can get more detailed reviews. Maybe you're even getting this to review yourself. Your New Year's resolution was to try to be more assertive or to be more polite, and you want this to review, I don't know, this thing will give you insight, especially as these models get better. It's very good now, but this will give you insight. And then before you clear the transcript, if you want, you can save that transcript and send all these transcripts. Question you might have: how long can this conversation go on? How much of a conversation can I enter? How much context are we talking about putting into this AI model? You can give this, according to the specs of this model, 128,000 tokens for this, the 400 billion parameter model. You know how much tokens that is? That's like more than a thick book. You would need to be talking for about 60 hours nonstop. You would probably die of lack of sleep before you ever filled up the conversation. So if you're really talking hours at a time on something very important, and you want this expert opinion here, this is going to give you insights, and it's going to depend on the prompt. So with that, enough of that understanding of what these are, of what the API is, the fact that it's not just confined here to this local little app, but that the amount of context you're putting in and giving this model, and right when you need it or at the end of the call, you're able to call these and have other processes running that can start and stop depending on the circumstances, clear, go on to the next one, output the transcript, which is kind of valuable in itself that we have this very good AI transcript. And sky's the limit of different programs you're already using, being able to integrate this, being able to extract data, extract insights, and moving that into other areas like Excel. And the good news is, if you're not a programmer, that you may have heard the term vibe coding, that just telling the AI, Chat GPT, where are you at now? Total novice, that's okay. It's not going to judge. It's going to basically, if you want to work with these APIs and connect it to your existing phone system, talking to any one of the major API models, having that write you the code, paste in the code, run it. If it doesn't work, copy the error, paste in the new code. Really that simple. And so hopefully I've covered that. There's more. Even though this is really pretty simple at the base level, listening when you want it to listen, ask it, it's there when you need it. I mean, you saw how fast it was, and then to clear the transcript, let's press this clear transcript button, and we have the transcript stored in here in one location. So ready for a new conversation, and then take a screenshot or do not take a screenshot. So let's talk about screenshots, and let's go with this. What is the answer in whatever this video is about to this person's question? Which of the following steps is second in the troubleshooting methodology? Is there a troubleshooting methodology? This seems a bit vague. Is this something that is general knowledge? Let's not show the AI the answer. We know that it's F, but will the AI? And this is something you can hide when you're doing.
Answer was.
When you're doing the, let's see. When you're doing your Zoom call and you and the person on Zoom are looking at images, looking at customer service things, this app gets very skinny, and so transcript is cleared and it's going to take a screenshot. Let's see if it gives us an answer. Second step of the troubleshooting methodology. What is the answer? The correct sequence of steps. Do we have an answer? Yes, the answer is F. Okay. So this is a random video of some kind of certification or training on YouTube, and I don't even know what this is talking about, but it got the answer. You'll find that during the 7-day trial, that very fast, very good, knows the answer. So how many more use cases can I name? Like, we talked about salespeople, we talked about reviewing the salespeople or the customer service people, but you also have the situation of receptionists and people who are scheduling jobs, maybe jobs to repair something, bringing in something to repair, ordering, sending people out into the field. And the person scheduling might not be an expert. The person scheduling, of course, might be just a normal person with general knowledge. And when they get a picture like this, how do they know what to schedule, what parts to order to repair it? This is where, when your customers are encouraged to send those images, if they have an image of the situation or a good description of the situation, and they can give that to your dispatcher, the person doing scheduling, who is not a domain expert, the things that you want that person to know if they were a domain expert, of course, loading those into the prompt and then getting the customers to send pictures and then being able to take a screenshot. And let's see how it does with this screenshot. What do we have? There's a lot on my screen. There's actually more than you can see, but let's see if it is able to, from the image, get the answer here. Gotta move my, bear with me, sorry. Move my screen items around so that not only I can see them, but you can see them. So nothing in the transcript. We're going to be doing screenshot only and general practice. Obviously, if there was something in the transcript that might be a little confusing about how this also pertains to the screenshot, if you're not taking screenshots, turn the screenshots off. It's also going to make the model much faster. But as I was just saying about someone doing dispatching or scheduling, or maybe even doing a ballpark estimate, of cost, then we're going to get the AI here looking, giving intelligence. So it says the answer is C. I don't know what this is. I don't know what kind of printer this is.
The unit will fuse as a printer. Guys, it's actually quite expensive. The answer is the drum. If you're wondering why that is the answer, because guys, the drum,
So you can test this out.